primarily, okay? We're also teaching culture, we're teaching health, and we're teaching social and emotional learning. Social and emotional learning has been added to the state goals and standards, so in the same way we're supposed to teach reading and we're supposed to teach math, we're supposed to teach social and emotional learning. Those are interpersonal skills. We'll get more into that in a little bit. So our integrated curriculum goes this way. We have 21st century themes and skills. Pierre and I, whoa, 1 second. It's okay. Pierre and I have come to call those the big ideas. And those are the heading chapters for each of your unit. One unit we expect to take anywhere from 3 to 4 sessions. We're assuming your sessions are an hour, but really more practice 40 minutes, okay? Like with any curriculum, you're going to be provided with more content that you can use in that hour. It's you who knows your students best, so you will choose and pick from the activities that are provided to meet your students' needs where they are. Let's say they can't get a dance and you've got to go back and go over the dance. There's flexibility. The big ideas all start with the letter C. We got culture, communication, collaboration. It's easy to remember. We'll get into that further. But these 21st century skills are overarching themes. So when you walk into your classroom that day, you're going to walk in with your big idea. Today I'm working on communication. Today I'm working on creativity. Today I'm working on collaboration. And that should be the language that you're using, the vocabulary you're using, what you're expressing to the students in terms of expectations. Dance. You may be aware that the national, Illinois had state goal 25, 26, and 27. Then that's the Illinois state standards. Then we had national dance standards, which were developed by the National Coalition for the Arts. Just like Common Core, which is for language arts and mathematics, we now have national core dance standards. I will provide you with the website so you can look at those, in detail. There's something for you. And so go. Culture. These I pulled from the social studies standards, which all kids have for the state of Illinois. And we have, the next one is coming up, and it's health. Those are national health standards. Now, if you can imagine, when I looked at the dance standards, instantly I found overlap for culture, instantly I found overlap for health, because what is dance? There's one more in that social emotional learning. These are also part of the Illinois State Board of Education standards. I don't think you're going to get into a conversation with your principal about whether or not your job is important or how it's relevant, but you should know that the curriculum you're using is standards-based. Okay, so now it's time for us to do our connection activity, right? This is our first big idea that we're going to be working with my head for the PowerPoint. I need to mod this. Strips. Sorry, excuse me. Here we go. So we're good. Here's what we're going to do. Everyone's going to open their magic envelope right now and take out your colored piece of paper. Huh? Yeah, write your name on the outside of your envelope. And now do me a favor and take out your little piece of paper and you will find the word there. And that is you for today. Okay? How apropos. Okay? Did you? Okay. These are our big ideas. Okay? Oh, you got this thing? You should play awesome. Peter needs an envelope. He's up there. Please play. Make sure you write your name on the outside. Go. Here come our big ideas. Communication, culture, creativity, critical thinking. Why is communication there twice? You know that's a typo. Other than that, that should go all the way out. Confidence, commitment, and respect and responsibility. So that extra communication does not belong. Change it. Wait. Oh, you've got this? Okay. There's paper, there's extra paper for you on your tables if you want to take notes. Collaboration. That's what it is. It's collaboration.
Collaboration.
Collaboration. That second commitment is supposed to be collaboration.
You guys, you're going to get this in
In just a second. So what we're going to do is I want you to take a moment and reflect and think. You've got a word. What does dance have to do with communication? What does dance have to do with critical thinking? just on your own, just take a moment and answer that question for yourself. And then, to make it really tricky, I'm going to ask you to get up and find your friends. You should have a partner with a similar word, and you're going to have a very quick. All three of you had this. How lucky you guys are straight. Okay, so they're going to be talking about communication. Get up. Up, everybody up, get up. We're going to be getting up. We're not going to be sitting the whole time. We're going to be moving around so you can absorb the information more quickly. Go find somebody.
We're communicating.
I'm looking for commitment. Okay, stop. Awesome. Okay, now, take your communication. Make sure you know your partner's name. You need to know your partner's name because you introduce yourself to your partner. This is activity number 3. There are quotes on the wall. I want you to go find what quote applies to your big idea with your partner.
And then you, but what if the partner doesn't have the same idea as you?
That's the argument that you're going to have. It's not going to take very long. Go find your quote with your team, right? You all have
You still, but together you have to.
decide. You
On
have
one.
to agree, yes, that this is your idea. And then you will stand with your team. That's right, thank you so much. Somebody's playing
This
teacher.
one is,
Yeah, I think so.
Yay! You like this? I need my timekeeper. Who's my timekeeper?
Me! Thank you.
Awesome. Fat marker. Now it's still fat marker. Ready? All right, stand with your group. What do you have? Confidence. And what's your quote? Can you share your quote with the team?
Some men have thousands of reasons why they cannot do what they want to, but all they need is one reason why they can.
Confidence. You guys agree? Yes. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to write confidence. Next, what do we have going on here? Who's here? This is somebody. There are 2 ways of being creative. Oh, I didn't pass this one. Let's go to the next one. Share that. Communication. What does it say? Dance is the hidden language of the soul. Dance is the hidden language of the soul. Next.
Art is an investigation.
What do you think that is?
Critical thinking.
Critical thinking. We're working on dances and creative dances. We're doing critical thinking. And who else do we have? Culture. That was easy, wasn't it, Pierre?
That's all I did.
Easy. Okay. And the next one?
Practice means to perform over and over again in the face of all obstacles, some act of vision, of faith, of desire. Practice is a means of inviting the perfection desired. And we said commitment.
Commitment. You have to practice in order to commit. Yes, dear.
If you want to make peace with your enemy, you have to work with your enemy, and then he becomes your partner.
I use respect and responsibility.
Respect and responsibility.
Collaboration.
And we have collaboration. So what if I told you that collaboration is, I do not try to dance better than anyone else, and I'm going to try and dance better than myself. It's a little vague. Go back to your seats. We're supposed to give each other's names. Go back to your seats. So I'm going to pass out the binders now. I'm a little bit going fast.
Excuse me.
Yes. We're going to do it now. So,
Alrighty.
did everyone meet their partner?
Yes.
You know your partner's name?
Yes.
This is an activity in our teacher guide, and it's called introduction. I want you to introduce your partner to the group. Okay? This is Tammy Sue,
There you go.
and she's my partner. Tammy,
Be the old one.
who's your partner?
My partners were Rebecca Alomar and Bradley Nicklin.
Okay? And Pierre wants us to go around the room and introduce ourselves. Go ahead. Okay, who are your partners?
They were Rebecca Alomar over there and Bradley Nicklin.
Rebecca and Bradley. Hi, Bradley. And then who is your partner? Who else can I get? Andrea, who are your partners?
My partners were Pilar and Ursuline.
Pilar and Ursuline. Hi. Okay, and who's your partner?
Nikki.
Nikki was your partner. Who's your partner, Nikki? Who? Nicole. We're learning our names. Okay, who's your partner?
Pia and Jordan.
2
seconds. Everyone has a binder? Okay, thank you.
And Jordan. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Jordan. Nice to meet you, Jordan. Did everyone get introduced?
Kenya.
Who did not get introduced? Kenya, who's your partner?
Me, myself, and I.
Oh, baby, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You did great. Who's that baby? Who's that baby right there?
Ezra.
Ezra. Hi, Ezra. How are you? So now what we have in our hand is the curriculum binder. So, go. In your hand. This is an image I found of a very specific type of Roomba from Cuba. I need everyone to hold this book in your hand. What you have now is your teacher guide. So it doesn't matter if you're teaching Latin. It doesn't matter in terms of the Bible. It doesn't matter if you're teaching ballet. It doesn't matter what your grade level band is. This is where you're going to go to find how to teach, what to teach, methods of teaching, staples and standards. This is everything you need to create and present in front of the students. We're going to get familiar with this document today because you're going to need it as you go into the classroom. If I were you, I would read this, okay? It's not too intense, but it sure does help you prepare for your teaching. In addition to this binder, there is the curriculum. And the curriculum is grade band specific. So if you're teaching ballet, there's a ballet curriculum. Pierre has those online. He's going to be disseminating them to you as your assignments come in. Okay? But for me right now, I need you to help me and look at the index of your binder and go to the back. And you're going to find the first tab is your social and emotional learning activities guide. And I think Tammy did a wonderful job of tabbing for you. And what I'm going to ask you guys to do, because everyone was given a theme, right?
Say
The
it.
social and emotional activities.
Oh, okay.
Social emotional learning activities. Everyone in the room was given a big idea. We just stood up and found our big idea quote. We're speaking with that thing. You're going to keep homes. Don't forget what your word is, whether it's commitment or connect or confidence. Hold on to it. Because what I'm going to ask you to do now is take a look at how this is organized. This document provides you with social and emotional learning activities. Those are interpersonal skills. Oh, thank you, Tammy. Tammy's rocking it. Look at these social and emotional learning skills. When we're talking about social emotional learning, we're talking about understanding and managing our emotions, setting and achieving positive goals, feeling and showing empathy for others, and establishing and maintaining positive relationships. Making responsible decisions, like not slugging the person who's standing too close to you in the dance room, right? Do these seem like the things that we do as dance teachers? They seem overwhelmingly to me like what we do as dance teachers. The guide that you have in your hand is basically a supplement. So if you walk into a classroom and everybody's having a hard time expressing themselves, communicating, have an issue, if you walk into a West Side classroom that I had one year, everyone was like this. There was not a confident child in the group. I can go to this appendix, I can find activities that are specifically designed to lift those kids up, and they are also matched to the national standards, okay? So what I'd like for you to do right now is find in this appendix guide, the social emotional learning, your word, your big idea. And I'm going to ask you to read just the definition, your vocabulary words, and what you need to know. You are about to become an expert in communication.
Are we still in social emotional learning?
Yes, we are in social emotional learning.
And we
Expert.
find what?
Index is where?
So when you say index, I think when you say index, what do you mean by that?
The appendix is this section of the back section of the book where the tabs start. So if you go to social emotional learning, you should be right there, where it says social emotional learning on the tab. And within that page, as you turn the page, communication. Dance as culture. Dance as concept. And I just want you to read your definition. Here we go.
That's great.
Now I'm going to put the lights on.
Chris,
Yes?
I'm just asking so that
Come
I'm
on.
clear and we're all clear. When you said what is the definition,
Yep,
you want
that's
to
the first.
read what you need to know and what you need to teach or what?
I want you to read all the way to vocabulary,
Okay.
from the top to vocabulary.
All right.
I'm passing out our agenda for today. I'm sorry, Mrs. Step.
Okay, I'm gonna bring you guys back to me. Hello, hello. And so are you seeing how these are our big ideas? These are our overarching units. It's going to not take one session to talk about how dance is related to confidence, or one session is to relate to how dance is related to commitment. It's going to take several sessions. So as the students are exploring and experiencing the dance, regular dance class, most of our time is spent dancing. But your focus for that month of instruction, or for that unit of instruction, is on your big idea. Is everybody good? Yeah? Pretty clear? Can you find your partner and just have a quick conversation about that? What you just read in your partner.
Should we stay with our partners so that?
You should, yeah. We're going to be working with our partners a lot.
You know what? Why don't you and I switch, and then I'll bring my partner over here. Or would you rather stay?
I think I'd rather stay that's what we get started. I was doing this just for the life, you know what I'm saying? That's how I just look at this all the time. It's just for me. This is what you like. In whatever situation.
You're discussing your big idea based on what you just read with your partner. You're talking about experience, and now we're talking about how we can teach it from our unit. Okay. Yeah, so right now you've had a chance to read the definition. Eyes on me. Thanks. Hi. You had a chance to read the definition of your big idea. You saw the vocabulary involved in teaching that big idea during your dance instruction. And now I'm asking you to talk about how you explore this big idea in your teaching practice with your partner, right?
Oh, that's what.
Okay? Good?
We was talking about that.
Yeah, that's a definition of more. The mindset, how they use it. It's really hard. By the time they get there, it's just, I'm still telling you that I'm still teaching classroom future, but the thing is that they're not listening to stuff like that. They're already saying, I feel the world how they treat, how they have to do One thing I do is I play with them. And then I don't let them. You know, I set I give them my expectations. How this is going to work. Basically, what the results are going to
So Matt, we're going to wrap up our sentences. You want one more time? A little more time.
One sentence?
Yeah, you're just working on your conversation.
It's got to be safe. They should have got a safe place. Because I know this is where there's the other type of boys who move, you gotta laugh with one animal, whatever. You know, they gotta know it's a safe place. It's gotta be safe. Right. That's why you do what you do. I'm just saying this loudly. Make it safe. Like you got them right. You know. The parents tolerate all that mess. It was like we acting like that. It started at home. So I'm not your parent. I don't care about your parents. But you cannot disrupt. You know, it's just gotta be. Because I guess it's so. I think I must have been something. I don't remember it too clear. I guess. You know. But that made me kind of like disappear. I just wasn't. What was going on? I didn't want to be a part of it anyway, but. Because I didn't want, I wanted to be invisible, so nobody would talk to me, point me out, and that. They did, they told. And so, as a young kid, I remember just kind of, not being, you know, my hands fuck themselves anyway, but I didn't want to draw any attention to me. They made a mess of things, you know, and the times that they did, it was good. I don't remember some incidents, I just remember the feelings that I had, you know. I need time.
Okay, Todd, come back to me. Come back to me. Yay! Wasn't that exciting? Don't you guys know so much? It's true. I think it's true. I think the best kind of teaching and learning is when you guys already kind of say, like, look at that. Right? And look how it relates to what we already know, what we're learning now. Right. So let's just go across, and we do have our list of things, but just starting over here, who was talking about confidence and who wants to share something that they heard someone else say? This is the simplest activity that I do in my classroom, where you give them a moment to speak, and then to prove that they're listening, and to give them the opportunity to practice, not just listening to you, but listening to each other, you ask them to summarize what their friend has said. So who was talking about confidence? Were you? And what did you hear your friend say?
She was talking about how what really worked for her, I think, was it a community center I think she was teaching at, where she was teaching a jazz and modern fusion class, and the kids, they weren't dance kids, they weren't really excited to learn about dance, really, so when she was giving them like flatbacks and stuff like that, they were crazy and laughing, and so she took it back and just taught jazz, and they could kind of more relate to that, and they had fun with it, so she probably kind of built their confidence of something they could do, which is what this talks about, giving kids something that's like at their level, so they can attain it and feel good about themselves.
So we want the kids to experience success, right? If you give the kids something that's too challenging, they experience failure. Is that going to build confidence? No. So you really want to be able to scaffold your dances, and this is something that Karen and I have worked on a lot, of breaking down the steps, so that you don't just throw them a huge chunk of dance and expect them to master it. It has to be broken down. You have to praise them. You have to be specific and give them an opportunity to succeed. Who talked with their partner about creativity? I don't think I passed that out. I think I held on to that. Right? Okay. Who talked to their partner about communication? Okay. What did you hear? Hold on.
I heard that it's very important to let the children know that their movement, through their movement, they let other people know how they're feeling or what they think, or, it's a form of expression. So.
And how many different ways can we express ourselves? I think the thing about creativity is that we're acknowledging diversity, very much in our classroom settings. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Communication. Sorry. I had my own creativity thing wrong when she was speaking. Communication. The students are learning that dance is a form of communication and expression. That's almost the simplest one, and that's why it's the first one.
And even just how they carry themselves with others and how they hold their head down, whatever, that's a form of communication.
And you know what's so exciting? Thank you for that lovely lead-in. There's an activity, I think it's activity number 7. And if you look at your agenda, and where it says something about communication, activity number 4. You guys want to go ahead and flip to page number 4, or activity 4 in your teacher guide. Go ahead and flip to social emotional learning, activity number 4. That is in the communication section, so it's right at the beginning of the tab. You're already in social emotional learning.
Oh, we're already in it,
You're already
right?
in it, right. And just look at the very first activity. Thank you, perfect. Because it's something done in every class.
Chris?
It is. It's feelings, I think, communication. 4, nonverbal communication. So the example that was just shared was how we express our emotions through our body. Here in the teacher guide, if you're working on that with your students, there's an activity that is step by step how to express different feelings and emotions with the body. You guys got that?
Yeah.
Right? The introductions where you're listening to someone else and having the confidence to introduce your partner or say, hi, this is my friend, that's in this guide. So every one of these big ideas, whether it's confidence or creativity or social, they have a related social and emotional activity for you to focus on. Most of your time is spent dancing, okay? But you're the diagnostic, right? You come in there, these kids don't know how to express it. You have to choose. That's the flexibility in the document. Who had, what's the next one?
Collaboration.
Collaboration. Do you have partners for collaboration? Yes, dear. Hi. Did you talk to anybody? Oh, what'd she say?
She was talking about making sure that when she puts students in groups that they don't, she doesn't limit it by level, like all the kids to dance on the same level. She doesn't put them in the same group. She's got them so they get to learn how to work with all different dances.
So what she's talking about is the difference between homogeneous grouping, where everybody's at the same basic skill set. You take the advanced kids and you put the advanced kids here, versus mixed ability grouping, which really, you get amazing results out of that, right? You get leadership, you get ideas, you get kids working with different styles. It's an excellent, I do both, right? Because you don't want the high and advanced kids to get bored. You have to do a little bit of both, right? Turn to collaboration. Let's just look at one more activity. So you're in social emotional learning, about 2 pages per. It's just a resource for you, right? The purpose of today is to get you comfortable using this resource. I know y'all know how to dance, okay? But this is about teaching dance, not in isolation, but teaching dance to other subjects. So look at collaboration. First person who has a page number, you can shout that out for me. It's on 16, thank you, Pierre. And after the definition and the grade level bands, do you see these dance objectives? How the kids are, the state standards, that's our next step. But look, there are activities. How do we work on collaboration? How do we work on being supportive of our partners? There are very specific activities to develop that big idea in students. For time, I want to share more, but let's move on. Let's not go through them all. So let's push forward. Okay, Sammy, push that button, baby. How am I doing? Am I okay with time?
You got 7 minutes left in that section.
Let's keep going. What's next? Critical thinking. Who had it?
We did critical thinking.
You did critical thinking. What'd you hear?
So what
Renita?
I heard was that she does a lot of critical thinking in her classes where she will have the students choreograph their own thing, which is also a partner to collaboration, which is what it said in the definition. Because they have to work together, they have to figure out the different skills that they can use and what they can do to create whatever piece that they're creating, and the guidelines based on, what she gives them.
I really like that idea that the collaboration and the critical thinking are right together.
Yeah.
At some point during one of my revisions with Pierre, you went through these things and you reordered them and you put the collaboration before the critical thinking. And I thought, okay, that makes sense because I've got to be able to talk with you, right? And work with you, right? And also at the same time say, that's a boo-boo step. But how am I going to say that to you in a way that's not going to hurt your feelings, right? How am I going to say that to you in a way that's going to make you want to continue to collaborate with me and work with me?
And that communication is right before
And
collaboration.
communication is right before the community, so we've got a nice flow, okay? But these units are also designed so that you can also, Pierre could call you up and say, hey, I need you to go teach a residency over at this school. We're just going to do collaboration. That could happen too. You understand? That's the that was the challenge of the document, is that yes, it's designed to go from the beginning to the end as you go through each of the 8 units, but it's also standalone, okay? Pierre asked me a very significant question the other day on the phone, and he said, well, what if I want to teach confidence with merengue instead of merengue and communication like I wrote it in the book? I said, that's okay, as long as you stick with the dance standards and the social emotional learning standards. It doesn't really matter what the dance form is. Do you guys understand that? Right? But this way that we're teaching, we're really focusing on the social emotional learning and the elements and principles of dance, which are generic. They are not specific to African dance any more than they are to ballet. Let's keep going. Who's got culture? No. Yes, culture. Who talked about it?
We had culture, and one of the first things we did was after we read what our definition was, look at our vocabulary words.
Yes.
And figure out how we're going to incorporate those vocabulary words into our lesson.
Very good, Pierre.
And so Jordan,
Okay, so, well, you actually used a different type of explanation. We did it with a wine train, and how they didn't understand the background of like how the wine train was supposed to be ran and everything, and that they were not adapting to it. And if they understood the culture, as far as if we understood the culture where hip hop came from, we know how to be able to work with the credit.
our word that we used from the vocabulary was assimilation.
Assimilation. So again, there are resources. The reason I asked you guys to look at the vocabulary is because if you don't use that vocabulary with the kids, if you don't lay it on the dance, they won't know it. And then you're missing your opportunity to teach the social emotional learning, right? With your dance content. So do pay attention to the vocabulary. For me, practically speaking, and we'll get to this page later in our presentation today, but you have to know going in what your big ideas are, what your vocabulary is, and what your dance objectives are. If you've got that, you're kind of ready to go, okay? So don't be intimidated by the bulk of content, but know that it's there for you as a resource. Who had commitment?
We did.
Yeah. And what did you guys hear?
As far as goal setting and like project completion, Nikki focuses a lot on early on being able to control your mind and focus in that way to even attempt to give them those challenges and to really figure that out first.
Plant before they even know that they're going to perform. Plant it in their minds what performance ready looks like standing still, standing up straight, being focused, thinking of, the music is getting ready to come on. What's my first step? So I start planning that before we even.
She's creating a mental environment of performance for them, getting them to anticipate. In the syllabus for that section too, and I know you guys do this, you split your kids in group and you have them watch each other and critique and review. The sooner you can get your kids a performance opportunity, the quicker you will increase the investment in your group. Even if it's just for the choir singers that are in another room. Invite them to come watch your kids dance the first month that you're working, because it really gives the kids the taste and the flavor, or the failure, right, of what we need to do to prepare for the commitment of performance. To me, one of the greatest life skills that we get from dance education is commitment to project completion. Pierre, did I finish this? I finished this, right? It's commitment to project completion. Hell or high water, we're going to get there. That's a life skill that I got from dance, okay? So can we articulate that for the children? I've got one more, and that's respect. Did anyone talk? No, I'm saving respect for the last one. I'm saving it, that's mine. So the one we didn't talk about was creativity. And this is something that Pierre and I feel have gone back and forth with a lot when we were doing ballet only. Because ballet requires a lot of skill, right? Nobody's asking you to be creative, maybe a little expressive in your classical ballet, but generally as dancers, we're not out there creating. And as our children are young, that we're seeing, and unskilled and untrained in dance, they don't necessarily have the facility or the steps or the background to be creative, to be choreographers, okay? That's not to say they can't be creative. We're exploring dance through the works of others, looking at dances, looking at structures, looking at how we can take ideas and take those ideas, or take music and use the music as inspiration. Through the study of that relationship between music and dance, through the study of the relationship between ideas and dance, you're modeling creativity for the students, even if they never make up the pattern themselves. Do you understand that? That you're articulating the creative process for the children can be addressed for those low-level kids who was saying couldn't even do the flat back, couldn't do the jazz hands. You're going to have them create a combination? No. But can you still model the creative process? Can you still articulate ABA patterns? Right? Thanks, baby. Boom, we're done. Let's go to the next thing. I think I'm getting warmed up. Okay, lovely. Let's go on. What you got, Tammy? Oh, this business. Okay. So, unfortunately, the National Core Art Standards read like some sort of legal document. They really do. It's done reading like anything you've ever done in your life. The National Core Art Standards read heavily. What I want you to do with your teaching guide right now is find your scope and sequence table. Okay? And that looks like a giant grid. It's not actually a grid. You guys are comfortable over here?
For what grade though?
Chris? Yes? Scope and sequence
For
tables.
what grade?
It's in the appendix and what? Choose anyone. Choose anyone. Choose a grade you like or you don't. Kids you've worked with before, that's probably ideal. Is that my water standard?
I think so, it's not mine.
You guys, we did bring out the bottled water, it was in the fridge, I forgot. Okay, so here we have how this curriculum is structured. What do you have here? Shenanigans. This is the inside of my brain, okay? Yeah, this is what my brain looks like. I'm not a right brain artsy person, I'm a left brain faker. So, do you see the big ideas going across the top? Right? That's you, month 1, you're teaching communication. Look, month 2, you're working on culture. So as you go across the top, every one of those stripes, every one of those columns is representing 3 to 4 weeks of instruction. What are you going to teach in those 3 to 4 weeks of instruction? If you want to know the legal language and you don't want to use my simply written unit plans, you can look at this table and see where I got the content to build the unit plan. So under communication, we have the dance standards, and then if you turn the page, see all those dance standards? See how they read? Woo, heavy language, right? Crazy heavy language. And then if you turn the page, you'll see the next part of our integrated curriculum, which is culture. And what else do you have there? You have social emotional learning, you better. Right? And health, okay? So what are you teaching under each unit? There are the standards. When we say this curriculum is based on standards, these are the objectives and the standards that I use to build the curriculum. Do you need to go in here? Probably not. But if Pierre sends you to teach 7th and 8th, or sends you to teach ballet to 3 through 4, you might need to go in here. What?
Okay, Chris, you read the surface of the ones across the top, you're identifying those as our 21st century learning.
Those are our big ideas. Uh-huh.
Just 21st century, correct? What are the ones going down? The culture of the dance.
Those are our standards. Those are our content standards. So for sure, under this idea of, we were talking about critical thinking, everybody, if we're talking about critical thinking, dance has critical thinking, right? But what hurts my feelings might not hurt your feelings. And so for me to negotiate with you in a social and emotional way, that requires critical thinking and empathy. I can't just act the way I feel. I have to apply my mind to understand how you feel. So there you're going to find in the same band of critical thinking, something related to social and emotional learning. In the same band of critical thinking, you're going to find something related to culture. Because culture requires what? An understanding of people who are different than you, cultural awareness, right? Everybody should take dance. Tammy, we didn't show the video.
We don't have time.
We don't have time. I have this beautiful, we'll get into it later, I'll give you a little intro. But I did a lot of research for this project. And in West Africa, there's a word that can't be translated. And the word that can't be translated is Foley. And it means, isn't that beautiful? I'm going to show you a little bit, but I'm not showing 10 minutes. I got 2.
Oh my God.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And the idea of Foley is that rhythm is life.
True.
And that movement is life, and that there's no subject. So me putting these things in boxes is ridiculous if you're coming from West Africa. It's Foley. I'm walking through the room to a rhythm. I'm talking to you in a rhythm, and it's a really beautiful concept, which is to say that, yes, I can put these things into boxes and headings and titles, but really it's just life.
But that's the whole thing. It's just 10 minutes. Because you can't cut it. You got to sit.
I know. Didn't I sit next to you?
Send everybody the link.
I
That's a wonderful idea, Laura.
Send me the link.
You can't see a piece.
Send me the link.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. So what we're going to do now, you get another activity, huh? Where am I?
Match course and standards to unit headings.
What?
Oh, yeah, everybody has little strips of colored paper on their table. It's a standard. Right here. You've got a standard. Those are colored paper. They're right there, they all need strips.
Orange.
Everybody gets one standard. Everybody gets one standard, and you're gonna take loops. Everybody else take loops for their strip. Sorry, that. Oh, let me have a strip. Which one do you want? Okay, got it? Here, do you need a strip?
I have one.
Okay, so here you have a strip, and I helped you out quite a bit by telling you what grade level it was, okay? But your task right now is to talk with your immediate neighbor. Okay? No, go find the person who has the same color as you. I'm sorry, this is a different game. Get up. Sorry, I don't like to say it. Get up. Get up. And go find somebody with the same color piece of paper as you. And color. Speaking.
Here, too. Let me throw this away.
So now that you have your friend, what you're going to do is share your standard with your friend and discuss, this is important, the core standards, the core dance standards are scaffolded, which means they're telling you the same thing over and over and over again, just making it more challenging as the child's age increases. So the very beginning babies, they know direction is up and down. But the more advanced babies can go up and down with pattern, and it just gets more and more difficult. So look with your partner at your standard and discuss how they made it more challenging or how it's reflecting a different aspect of the same idea. After you've talked, I want you to go find your quote, and this is easy because it's matched to the color.
Now,
So we're gonna be respect.
We're talking about respect, dance, and the age level. Yeah.
Are we asking for standard or just?
You're just looking at the standard in your hand.
She said as they get older.
Eyes on me one more time. This is some tricky stuff. This is a little tricky. We just looked at the scope and sequence tables, right? And those scope and sequence tables are organized by grade level band, aren't they? K through 2, 3 through 4. Every time you go to a different grade level band, the dance objective gets more difficult. But it's really the same content. It is also going to belong under the same big idea. So I want you to look at the colored strip of paper in your hand. Look at your friend's colored strip of paper. Discuss how did they make this more challenging? How does this relate? Go stand under your papers and stick it on the wall. Okay? How does this relate to your idea, your big idea? And is it getting harder? So now use the same one I used with communication as that relates. Yes, now you're doing something
and then this one is supposed to be harder. This is basically, I guess, teaching them how to and here,
So this is, I guess, so I'm
all the tests are more. That's true. So you have to see how this has hard.
Yes.
We're just talking about our own thing now. More intense.
How it relates to respect. They're good here. Come up here. Put it up there. Hey, Fran.
Because all of those standards.
Well, we're putting our standards. Putting our standards. I guess they're like making this show them. And that's how okay. Thank you so much, you guys. Go back to your seats. You can leave that right there. Can I ask you, Tyson? And there's some water. If you need to get some water or snacks since you're up, it's a good time to move. That's not here. Is it Jeffrey Holder or Alhambra? Oh, picture. Jeffrey Holder. I'm going with Jeffrey Holder.
Jeffrey Holder, yeah, because.
It's the cheekbones for me.
Who is it?
Jeffrey Holder.
Jeffrey Holder. Jeffrey Carmen La. So what we're going to do now is we're moving into our next phase. Everyone has a copy of the agenda. We're halfway through. I'm so pleased that you guys are cooperating wonderfully. To summarize what we just did was we just built the scope and sequence table, right? That crazy table that's in your, with all the standards and stuff. We just made our own little table. We put our standards under the appropriately matched big ideas, which are, as Pierre said, our 21st century learning goals. What we're going to do now is we're going to move into this idea of teaching, okay? The teaching artist role. Who are you when you walk into this classroom, okay? Who are you? What is your job? I had a very quick talk with Andrea. I do a wonderful activity with my graduate students about, are you a parent? You know, we did this last year, though? Are you a coach? Are you a social worker? Okay, I'm a coach, right? I feel very much like, come on, we gotta get. But other people, I've seen Pierre mentor these children, right? Really mentor, go out of his way to. There's a difference between a coach and a mentor, don't you think? A difference between a teacher and a facilitator. Today I'm facilitating. I don't feel like I'm teaching you all anything. I'm just facilitating a process of us getting used to this curriculum. So all of these different titles and all of these different roles, how many of you have been a parent?
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, to your kids. Okay? All right. So for this section of the workshop, we're imagining ourselves and who we are when we walk into that teaching space. We're helping students, this I took from the National Core Arts website. This is what they want us to do, okay? They want us to help the students form their ideas. So when Pierre found that vocabulary word, was it adaptation or assimilation? Assimilation, okay? That can mean a lot of different things, and it has a lot of different contexts, right? People can be assimilated, cultures can be assimilated, we can assimilate, right? Our language is something new, right? So what is this idea? The vocabulary is what we're building our ideas around, okay? As we talk about the vocabulary with the kids and use dance to illustrate and demonstrate our vocabulary, we're helping the kids form their ideas. Go, Tammy. Helping the students test their ideas. Now, whether this is a social and emotional skill, right? I'm practicing what my confidence looks like. I'm practicing what my collaboration is with another person. I'm practicing what it's like to be a leader. Oh my gosh, my teaching artist made me the leader of my group. She said, I'm the dance captain. Okay? How am I going to go about that role? Go. Helping the students communicate the ideas. As you get higher on and are asking the kids to evaluate, talk about the dances that they're performing and engaging in and learning about, what do they think about that? You all know we sat in class way too much and regurgitated some nonsense that people had us memorize. This is a different level of learning, where I have an idea, but do I have the skills and the facility to express it? Is dance a skill and a facility of self-expression? Anybody? Yes. Okay, so as dance teachers, we're helping the students communicate their ideas by teaching them dance, by giving them dance instruction and dance vocabulary, repertoire, steps, go. Helping the students respond to the arts. I've been saying this my whole teaching career, that we think art education is doing it, okay? I can do the time step, been able to do it since I was 30, right? Do I have any relationship to tap dance? Do I have any value judgments about tap dance? I can do it, right? But there's so much more to be gained from the evaluation of the art form, from setting an art form in its cultural context and seeing how the people shaped it, right? There's a lot more to dance than just doing it. That's our job, okay? To get the kids to respond to the arts intelligently. Let's go. The keys to a good lesson. Again, my purpose today is to get you to touch this book in your hand. So I'm going to ask you to go to the beginning of the book, and in the very beginning of your binder, and you're going to flip through and find what I wrote just for you from my years of teaching and talking to Pierre and watching other people as to what I think is a good lesson. The keys to a good lesson, the consistency that we need, the practical tools, a noisemaker. Don't the kids get a little loud? You want them loud and excited to an extent. So maybe you need to take a maraca to work with you, or
Page 10.
a bell. Thank you, darling. Page 10. I had that written down in my notes. I could have said that. Did you say that because you got my notes?
Maybe so.
Maybe you got my notes. Keep doing that. There's a page 9 coming up today. Okay. So we're on page 10. Keys to a good lesson. So when we talk about that, somebody read that first heading. My glasses are foggy. What's that first one?
It is important from the outset to establish rules for your dance class. Generally, holding students accountable in your standards high works. You may want to introduce the pledge to be safe, be responsible, be respectful, and define each term.
How many of you have seen that in your public schools? Right? That's a universal, statement that they give you. Being consistent, finding out what the school uses in terms of control and behavioral management and being able to use those words with the kids has a greater impact than just going in cold turkey. So if you have the opportunity to find out how they express their expectations to the students in terms that they've heard before, that can be very helpful. Somebody help me with the next one. We don't have to read the whole thing. What's that?
Know your students.
Know your students, adjusted with time, with task, and independence. We've already talked about this when Rebecca mentioned how she's differentiating her instruction, right? You gotta know your kids. It's wonderful to have a plan, but if you get in there and the kids aren't ready for that plan, you've got to adjust, okay? So how much time you spend, you've got to pay attention to that. Having a timekeeper sometimes helps. Giving the kids those leadership roles, having students giving them an opportunity to create an 8-count or teach someone something else. You have to stay on your toes. What's our next big heading?
I'm prepared.
Be prepared, know your objectives. I did make for everybody a cheat sheet. So if you're teaching Latin, I've got a cheat sheet for you, okay? It's gonna give you your objectives, it's gonna give you your vocabulary. So at the very least, before you walk into the classroom that day, you know what your vocabulary, social, emotional learning, and dance objectives are. Because if you go in that room and you don't know what you're doing, they're gonna know that you don't know what you're doing. There's no way we can afford that, because then suddenly your teaching practice starts to erode. And there is a difference, forgive me for using you all day long. I shared with her one of the units, and we were discussing, but if I had the classes out of pocket and they're buck wild and I said, Peter's gonna know that. He knows where he's sending you. He sent you there because he knew those kids like. But what that means is that you can't afford to let kids go. Right? You have got to go in there prepared. What's our next big heading? Teach explicitly. Learn the language. Okay? I cannot say this enough. Because this curriculum is integrated and it's complicated and it's got a lot of layers, teach the language. Let the kids break it down. Peter, when we did Firebird this year, did I tell you the kids were like, oh my gosh? I had interviewed the kids for the video. We had repetition, just like in poetry. We had right emphasis. And to hear these 6th grade, 5th grade students, Parker community, you know there, right? Talking about emphasis and repetition and being able to take it out of context. Because I don't think Pierre said this is like in poetry, but he used the vocabulary and they had heard that in their English class. So they were able to integrate those two ideas themselves. So use the vocabulary with the kids. Do not dumb it down. Do we have one more thing to talk
Can I
about?
add to that real quick?
Oh, yeah, please.
I know at the school that I teach, they have like acronyms for everything. So like for their science discovery, for their math discovery, for their language arts discovery, and it's like, I forget what they are now, but they're usually posted on the walls in classrooms. So if you can take a tour around the school just to see what, because it's like, you know how you build an essay, intro, supporting, da da da. It's not that specifically, but there's usually an acronym that the kids follow. And I found that in teaching that has helped in building their expectations of my class.
And I know that the time that I realized mid-year teaching bridge program that my kids didn't know Demi Point, I went out and I bought a bunch of old tech strips and I started putting the vocabulary up on the wall. You don't always have that option, but if you do, you have to understand, some kids, if you read the word, then it's in your mind, right? So if you can write it down, if you can put it up, if you have a devoted space, use that devoted space in a way that you can build up on their vocabulary. Because it has made all the difference in my teaching practice, whether I say once or twice a year, okay, you guys, next time we're just doing vocabulary. Bring in your notebooks, bring in a notebook, and we're going to write down our ballet vocabulary, we're going to draw a little picture. I do that when I find my instruction is lacking. Whose fault is that? Right? I didn't teach the vocabulary. What's next? Turn the page. I think it goes on.
I got immerse in big ideas through dance.
Immerse in the big ideas through dance. We've been doing that all day. You're not going to forget what a big idea is, right? Okay, what else do we have?
Feedback.
Feedback. This is the most important. This is brain research. This is proven. This is evidence. You do not say to the kids, good job. Oh, not enough. I love the way Nikki's holding her arms. I like the shape of your back. Andrea, you've got to speak specifically to the kids because then you're reteaching, you're reinforcing the vocabulary, and you're giving a learning opportunity to all the other people in the room. You understand? So be specific. Be specific when you. I like the way you're drinking your juice. Right? I like the way you're drinking your juice. And then they're going to seek to repeat that action because you were specific. If you just say good job, yeah, I might feel good for a minute, but it's not helping my dance. Right? You didn't tell me what was good about what I did. Yes? And I don't know, come on, timekeeper, what?
I know, I just really have a question. So
Please.
I have learned that there's a difference between praise and encouragement. And in my experience, because I've been somewhere where they call that narrating actions, right? I like the way that you're doing it. It sounds patronizing to me. And it sounds like, oh my gosh, you did something that you're freaking supposed to do. You know what I mean? And so I find that I genuinely struggle with praise versus encouragement, because I'm the type, and we're dancers, so you don't give out a compliment unless it's well deserved, right? But that's not how our kids are growing up now, and I feel like they're being praised and praised and praised and praised, and it's not necessarily warranted.
Okay, well, number one, I didn't say praise in every 5 seconds. Okay, I'm going to speak to 2 things on this. When I was doing the bridge research, there's a lot written about how to teach ballet. It's old, it's 400 years old, I've been writing about it forever. In Russia, when they're measuring the kids' arms to see if they're suitable for ballet and long enough and thin enough and whatever, they also check them for a positive response to challenge. They do not want children who respond positively to praise. I have to praise you for you to try hard. That's not a ballet dancer. I need you to respond to criticism and challenge. You want the kid, you give them a puzzle, they do the puzzle, and then they say, can I have a harder puzzle? Mm-hmm. Right? That's a disposition. That's a personality type. We're not all like that. Not everybody has a positive response to challenge. Dance is a way to develop a positive response to challenge, because it's not easy. You don't know how to do it. But through encouragement or praise or high expectation, which is the coach in me, you get a positive response to challenge and you balance out. It's a disposition.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Sorry.
ma'am. Next thing. That's it?
Reflect and assess.
Reflect and assess. Oh my goodness. So Pierre has me writing these reports every week to send to Tammy so I get paid, right?
Everybody's
Right, okay?
It's not just you, Chris. Everybody.
Not personal.
But guess what? I cannot deny that those reports make me a better teacher. Not only am I reviewing what I've taught and catching up on my syllabus, it forces me to review what I missed or forgot, but it causes me to think about my teaching practice in a way that makes me improve. So do reflect. Do think about what you've done. Do ask the kids. Do acknowledge, like, wow, that wasn't a good lesson today. We did not. Be aware, right? Don't give up. It's over. You have to reflect and you have to improve. Now we're done with that page, right?
Dances, creativity.
Are you
We're moving on. Agenda.
Let's go. Agenda. Those are keys to a good lesson. Could you guys go back in this book and look at it again before we start teaching in October or whatever? Get some more ideas. This is all here as a resource for you to use. Let's go.